relief legislation on an historic scale to push resources to our healthcare heroes and American workers and families. Democrats and Republicans sat down together. We crafted this version of the proposal together. This compromise package would push tens of billions of dollars to hospitals and healthcare providers. It would send direct checks to millions of American households, direct checks. It would massively expand unemployment insurance in this crisis. It would stabilize industries to prevent mass layoffs. And crucially, it would deliver historic relief to small businesses to help Main Street employees from being totally crushed by this pandemic. But yesterday, when the time came to vote on these urgent measures, our Democratic colleagues chose to block it. So why are the American people still waiting? It's a good question to ask. I hear the markets are not doing well today. They like to ask the question of us, why not move? Why are Democrats filibustering the bipartisan bill they helped write? An appropriate question to ask this morning as the country waits on us. So let me give the American people a taste of the outstanding issues we woke up to this morning. Here are some of the items on the Democratic wish list over which they choose to block this legislation last night. Tax credits for solar energy and wind energy. Provisions to force employers to give special new treatment to big labor. And listen to this, new emission standards for the airlines. Are you kidding me? This is the moment to debate new regulations that have nothing whatsoever to do with this crisis? That's what they're up to over there. American people need to know it. Democrats won't let us fund hospitals or save small businesses unless they get to dust off the Green New Deal. I'd like to see Senate Democrats tell New York City doctors and nurses, who are literally overrun as we speak, that they're filibustering hospital funding and more masks because they want to argue with the airlines over their carbon footprint? I'd like to see Senate Democrats tell small business employees in their states who are literally being laid off every day that they're filibustering relief that will keep people on the payroll because Democrat special interest friends want to squeeze employers while they're vulnerable. Squeeze these employers while they're vulnerable. I'd like to see Senate Democrats tell all American seniors who've seen their hard-earned retirement savings literally melt away as the markets track toward their worst month since 1931, that they're continuing to hold up emergency measures over tax credits for solar panels. Tax credits for solar panels. Even with the Federal Reserve announcing even further extraordinary steps today, the markets are tanking once again, as I said, because this body can't get its act together. And the only reason it can't get its act together is right over here on the other side of the aisle. So these are just a few of the completely non-germane wish list items that they're rallying behind, preventing us from getting this emergency relief to the American people right now. 11th hour demands the Democrats have decided are more important than Americans' paychecks and the personal safety of doctors and nurses. So remember what one of Speaker Pelosi's top lieutenants in the House said just a few days ago, and this is a direct quote. This is a tremendous opportunity to restrict things to fit our vision. To fit our vision. That was the Democratic whip in the House Just laying it out there. Reminds me of the definition of Washington gaffe, when a politician in Washington tells you what he really means. And we heard something similar here on the Senate floor last night, just last night. Here was one of our Democratic colleagues, quote, "How many times are we going to get a shot at a $1 trillion plus program?" Right here on the floor last night. I don't know how many trillion plus packages we're going to have. In other words, let's don't waste this opportunity to take full advantage and get our whole wish list done. They ought to be embarrassed, Mr. President. In fact, I've heard from some of them who are embarrassed. Talking like this is some juicy political opportunity. This is not a juicy political opportunity. This is a national emergency. We had days of productive bipartisan talks to get to this point. Senate Democrats sat down with Senate Republicans and negotiated furiously to get to this point. The bill now contains a huge number of changes that our Democratic colleagues requested, including major changes. We were this close. Then yesterday morning, the Speaker of the House flew back from San Francisco. And suddenly, the Senate's serious bipartisan process turned into this left-wing episode of supermarket sweep. Unrelated issues, left and right. I'll tell you what will really lower our carbon footprint, Mr. President. If the entire economy continues to crumble, with hundreds of thousands more Americans laid off because Senate Democrats won't let us act, that'll lower our carbon footprint, all right.